Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all the students are fine. Good. If the answer is in the positive, that is wonderful. And I'm sure that the answer is in the positive. That's great. So you are fine. And I'm sure that you enjoy learning. So since we are in the middle of the semester, not only for this course, but I think so for all the courses which you have or which have been recommended for you by the university in this semester. I hope you remember that what we've done or what we did during the last session 26. Yes, do you remember? Yes, we tried to understand what are minimal pairs, and yes, to some extent we understood. Rather, I expect that all of you understood what are minimal pairs, right? But remember, that was not sufficient to understand minimal pairs. There are certain things still we have to talk about so far as the minimal pairs are concerned. But I'm sure that most of you, rather all of you, have started working on that, and you are trying to make lists of your own pair of words. And this time I'm sure that your approach will be different, because pair of words, I still remember, I had a talk about this. It is possible that you came across this particular phrase when you were SSC student, or maybe intermediate student, or maybe it was one of the parts of your syllabus in the graduation. But since you are the student of phonetics and phonology, I'm sure that your approach to English language learning is now different, because we are talking about the phonological rules, at the same time the concepts we are trying to understand. Maybe it's phonetics or phonology. So let's see what we have today in this session, and that is session number 27. My dear students, this is session number 27. Welcome to session number 27. Now, what is the topic of today's session? Yes, exactly. You can see it's minimal pairs, but we are talking about, or we shall be talking about, the features. I'm sure that there is complete understanding among all the students so far as the concept minimal pairs are concerned. So far as minimal pairs are concerned. So far as this phrase is concerned, I hope there is a complete understanding, because we try to understand through certain examples what are minimal pairs. Okay? But this time, in today's session, we shall also try to understand what are features. It is possible that I have to bring some examples from the previous session. Why? Just to practice. I want you to practice more and more so that you may be able to understand what are features when we talk about minimal pairs. All right? Okay. Well, my dear students, before we start talking about the minimal pairs and at the same time features regarding minimal pairs, one thing I think we have to remember, all of us, both you and me, that in phonetics and phonology, a minimal pair is a set of words that differ in only one regard, frequently in a single particular phoneme. That's a very important point to remember when we are talking about minimal pairs. I hope during the last session there were certain things which I emphasized time and again. And that is, here you can see again that in phonetics and phonology, a minimal pair is a set of words that differ in only one regard, frequently in a single particular phoneme. So this is what you have to remember forever. However, minimal pairs can also differ in tone, accent, or other features. Now it's very important to understand something new is in front of us. What we try to understand, that one word must have the same phonemes or the number of phonemes, but with the change of one phoneme, what happens? First, the sound changes. Second, the meanings of the word change. All right. Now, this time we are trying to learn that in minimal pairs however, this is what I am saying, that after understanding the first statement, it's very important to focus on this one, that minimal pairs can differ in tone, accent, or other features. So there are other things we have to keep in mind when we are talking about minimal pairs. Last time we had analysis what are minimal pairs and what are the things in fact which make a minimal pair, right? We have been talking about since years the pair of words But when we talk about minimal pairs, and I still remember when I was talking about Arabic language, because the first slide which I presented before you was based on Arabic language, and Arabic minimal pairs we try to understand, because we have got the same scheme of, or rather the same system in Urdu language. We have got minimal pairs in Urdu, right? But remember, there is a difference. Our difference is not only in the changing of one phoneme or replacing one phoneme, but sometimes what happens, tone or accent or other features are also very important. So additionally, the term minimal pair has been extended to syntax to describe sentences or clauses that differ in a single word or branching structure. That's very important to understand, the branching structure. Since we are talking about the syntax, so that means we can extend, so far as the concept of minimal pair or the minimal pairs are concerned, we can extend to syntax. Why? To describe sentences or clauses. That's very important point, or these are very important points rather, to remember. So that's why I'm saying that before we talk anything else, it's very appropriate that we must bear in mind all these things which are in front of you at this time. Is it clear? I can repeat for you that in phonetics and phonology, a minimal pair is a set of words that differ in only one regard, frequently in a single particular phoneme. However, minimal pairs can also differ in tone, accent, or other features. Additionally, the term minimal pair has been extended to syntax to describe sentences or clauses that differ in a single word or branching structure. That's very important. So the difference could be in one word when we are going to have a branching of structure. All right? Having said that, I think we should be more concerned with distinctive feature. What is a distinctive feature? So we can say in general that two sounds are distinctive. This is what we have been talking about. Two sounds are distinctive. And you must remember two words, sip and zip. In general, we can say that two sounds are distinctive if sound differences cause a distinction in meaning. Two sounds are always distinctive. If you are using the word sip and then you are using the word zip, in sip we have got three phonemes, in zip we have got three phonemes. But if I replace s with z or s with z, what happens? Same sip is converted into zip. And when it is converted into zip, what happens? The entire meaning of the word is changed. And what happens when you are using this word in a clause, in a sentence? I'm talking about the syntactical issue. That means the context will be changed. You cannot use sip instead of zip when the context is expecting you to use zip, right? So it's very important that distinctive. What is the distinctive feature? If we're talking about what? The two sounds are distinctive. That means if sound differences cause a distinction in meaning. Now, you can come across one way of how to determine whether two sounds in a language are distinctive. Identify a minimal pair, which is a pair of words that differ only by a single sound in the same position and which have different meanings but are otherwise identical. Now remember, with the exception of one sound, the things are identical. That's very important to understand. I would like to refer to the same pair of words, sip and zip. There are many. For understanding's sake, I'm saying both the words are identical. But remember, it is only the change of one phoneme. It is only the change of one sound. So one sound is distinctive. In pair of words, remember, it's a matter of one sound only. In case of, for example, bus and buzz, the ending sound is s in bus and the ending sound is z in buzz. But you see, if we replace s with z, the entire meaning is changed. So that means we are supposed to be using that word in accordance with the requirement of the context. That's very important, right? So the position of the sound is the same. We are replacing sir sound with z sound. The position is the same. If it is the beginning, if it is in the beginning, it should remain in the beginning. If it is in the middle, we should bring, or we must replace the middle sound or middle phoneme. If it is the ending sound or the last phoneme maybe, so we have to replace only the last sound or the ending sound. Is it clear? Now look at these examples. For example, Bill, Gill. We have three phonemes in Bill, B, I, L. Don't run after the spellings of these words. And G-I-L-L, Gill, G, I, L. And the next pair of words is rib and rid. R, I, B, rib. And then R, I, D, rid. Again you can see, for example, in beat and seat, there are three phonemes in beat and three phonemes in seat. So B sound can be replaced with sir, and sir can be replaced with B. That makes a pair of words, or minimal pairs. Same is the case with book and took. Okay? Book and took. B-u-k and t-u-k. Then, for example, moon and soon. We have m-u-n. And we have s-u-n. Soon. Then we have thin and bin. So you don't have to talk about th, as I had a talk with you guys, that what happens to the learners of foreign language. That sometimes we try to find out, I mean, I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about the learners of, such learners whose language doesn't have this kind of system. So that's why they run after two sounds, T sound and her sound. Separate T, separate her. But remember, in English, TH over here stands for th sound. But at the same time, it also stands for the sound. But this time it stands for th sound. Th-i-n, thin. And b-i-n, bin. So remember, when a feature distinguishes one phoneme from another, it is distinctive feature. And this difference also counts for the difference in meaning. I repeat, when a feature distinguishes one phoneme from another, it is distinctive feature. This difference also counts for the difference in meaning. So distinctive feature, and it accounts for what? Difference in meaning. Such as beat and seed, book and took, moon and soon, thin and bin, or bill and gill, or rib and rid. Are you getting my point? Now I want you to consider the following minimal pair. That's interesting because there is something hidden inside the first statement which we have to talk a lot in the coming session or sessions. For example, the pair of words or the minimal pairs is seal versus zeal. Seal and zeal. Both the words have three phonemes each. S, E, L. And Z, E, L. Seal and zeal. So in this example, the distinctive feature, voice, distinguishes S from Z. Remember, these two are contrasting phonemes. They are different. They are contrasting phonemes. There is another scheme of work. There is another system to produce s sound. And there is another system to produce z sound. But remember, both these two words, these two sounds, neither allophones nor in complementary distribution. Now, the hidden thing over here is allophone. Allophone. I have to talk about this in detail in the coming session. What are allophones? The difference between phoneme and allophone. Because I'm talking about the contrasting phonemes. And s and z are contrasting phonemes. But they are not allophones. What are allophones? You have to wait for them. We have to talk about them. But for now, what you need to understand is that there is a different system required to produce s sound. So distinction is there. And we need to produce z sound in another way. So distinction is also there. For example, if you are to produce a bilabial sound, p, b or m, and at the same time you have to produce dental sound. So there is a difference of system, may I say, approach, structure, articulators involvement when we are producing bilabial, different ways adopted. And when we are producing dental, different ways adopted. Are you getting my point? So the second statement says the only difference is the distinctive feature voicing. So what is a distinctive feature now in between s and z? That s is a voiceless sound, whereas z is a voiced sound. Vibration. It is the voicing that is the distinctive feature in between these two phonemes. Right? So that's why we can also group the sounds of a language according to their features. So features are very important. The feature of s is that it is voiceless. The feature of z is that it is vibrating, it is voiced. Are you getting my point? Now it is possible some of you must be thinking about features. What are features? Remember, a phoneme is opposed to all other phonemes of its subsystem. What I am saying? A phoneme is opposed to all other phonemes of its subsystem, respectively consonants and vowels, in several ways. As I was talking to you while making a distinction in between the features of s and z. So several ways are there. Alright? All these phonemes oppose each other or one another. For example, p has to be defined as an unvoiced bilabial plosive to account for all the oppositions found with the other consonants in English. Now, p is also a plosive sound, it's a bilabial sound, and it is voiceless sound. Are you getting my point? I repeat. What is the definition? If somebody is asked, what is p in fact, so far as the features are concerned? So the answer or the definition of p is that it is an unvoiced bilabial plosive. Alright? It is unvoiced. P. No voicing is there. Bilabial. Two lips together. P. Plosive. You can feel the puff of air when you produce this sound. Are you getting my point? So these are the features of p. We shall be talking about this in detail afterwards. Alright? For now, what you have to understand is that a phoneme is opposed to all other phonemes of its subsystem. So respectively, consonants and vowels in several ways. So there are several ways. For example, p is unvoiced, bilabial and plosive sound, phoneme. Is it clear? Well, remember these three features are all necessary, because if per is described as an unvoiced consonant, it could be opposed to b, d, g, v, etc., but would not appear as distinct from all other unvoiced sounds. There are certain other unvoiced sounds. So for us, the comparison right in between or among per and other consonants such as b, b is a voiced sound, d is a voiced sound, g is a voiced sound, v is a voiced sound. It can be distinguished, it can be different, right? But there are certain other sounds which are not unvoiced or which are not voiced. So we have to understand the features of per separately. Same is the case, we have to understand the features of other phonemes separately. As I said, that per is what? It is unvoiced, it is bilabial, and it is plosive phoneme. Okay? Similarly, let's talk about some other bilabial sounds. For example, b and m. Alright? If we compare and contrast per, b and m. So if per is described as a bilabial only, it could be opposed to all non-bilabials, but would not appear as distinct from b and m. If you just pick up one feature, and that is the bilabialness of per. Remember, it could be opposed to all non-bilabials, but would not appear as distinct from b and m. Why? Because b and m are also bilabials. So where the non-bilabials are concerned, we can say, alright, per is opposed to all which are not bilabial. But so far as the b and m are concerned, remember, okay, it will not appear as distinct from b and m. If I am talking about only bilabialness, that per is a bilabial sound. If we just keep in mind only being bilabial, then we have to compare it with b and m, but not with other non-bilabials. Is it clear? Now, what can we say safely? We can safely say that the phonemes of a given language form a system in which they are all opposed to one another. To prove this statement, I am taking up the example of English per. Only per. So per is one sound. I am going to use it not only so far as this slide is concerned, but in the coming slides as a contrast in between some other phonemes. Now let's start. Per is opposed to b as in pig and big. Watch, two words are written within slashes. Per, I, g, pig. B, I, g, big. And now look at the spelling. P-I-G and B-I-G. Then per is opposed to ter as in P, T. Look at the spelling. Per, P-E-A and T-E-A. So E-A is producing E sound in both the words. But the difference is per and ter. The next is per is opposed to der as in pig, dig. Per, I, g, pig. Der, I, g, dig. Again, you can see the spelling P-I-G, pig, and D-I-G, dig. The next is Per is opposed to cur as in pat and cat. Per, a, t. Cur, a, t. Cat. And look at the spelling now. P-A-T, pat, and C-A-T, cat. And now you are capable of applying all the rules which I have talked about, just talked about. Alright? Our next example is per is opposed to ger as in pot and got. Per or to pot, ger or to got. Look at the spellings. P-O-T pot, G-O-T got. The next is per is opposed to mer as in pat and mat. Per, a, t, pat. Mer, a, t, mat. Look at the spellings now. P-A-T, pat, M-A-T, mat. The next is per is opposed to ner as in pit and knit. Per, it, pit, ner, it, knit. Look at the spellings. P-I-T, pit, K-N-I-T, knit. So remember, ker sound is not spoken here. Don't run after the spellings. The next example is per is opposed to ing as in rip and ring. R, I, p, rip. R, I, ing, ring. Look at the spelling. R-I-P, rip. R-I-N-G, ring. Alright? Our next example is per is opposed to fer as in peed and feed. Per, e, t, peed. Fer, e, t, feed. Look at the spellings. P-E-A-T, peed, and F-E-E-T, feed. The next one is per is opposed to ver as in pet and vet. Per, a, t, pet. Ver, a, t, vet. Spellings are P-E-T, pet, V-E-T, vet. So please do not pronounce it as wet, W-E-T. No. It is upper teeth, lower lip, vet. The next is per is opposed to ther as in port and thought. Per, or, t, port. Ther, or, t, thought. Look at the spellings. P-O-R-T, port, and T-H-O-U-G-A-T, thought. The next is per is opposed to the as in pat and that. Per, a, t, pat. The, a, t, that. So P-A-T, pat, and T-H-A-T, that. Our next example is per is opposed to sir as in pat and sat. Per, a, t, pat. Sir, a, t, sat. The spellings are P-A-T, pat, and S-A-T, sat. The next is per is opposed to sir as in pip and zip. Per, I, pip. Pip. Sir, I, p. Zip. The spellings are P-I-P, pip, and S-Z-I-P, zip. The next is per is opposed to sure as in P and she. Per, E, P. Sh, E, she. Spellings are P-E-A, P, and S-H-E, she. The next one is per is opposed to je as in leper and leisure. Le, a, p, leper. Le, a, je, leisure. The spellings are L-E-P-E-R, leper, and L-E-I-S-U-R-E, leisure. Well, after detailed analysis of per, and by using per with other phonemes which we said, or which we tried to understand when I picked up the features of minimal pair, it's very important to understand. Now we are in the position, after having detailed discussion and after having seen many tables, for example 3 or 4 tables you have seen, and you have seen many words, many pair of words, many minimal pairs, along with the phonemes and the general English. The words were there, the phonemes were there, and whatever the rule we tried to learn during the last session, we tried to apply those rules to what? To the 4 previous slides. But first of all, we tried to understand what were or what are features. So in the beginning we tried to understand what in fact is a feature, and then what is the distinctive feature of each and every phoneme. And after having detailed an analysis, we are in the position to say that what? That voiceless, bilabial, plosive are the distinctive features of per. It's not only per, but if you pick up any other phoneme, remember we have to analyze the phoneme the way we have done during the last 4 slides. So now we are in the position to say that per is having this kind of features. And what are they? That voiceless, bilabial, plosive. So being voiceless, being bilabial, being plosive are the distinctive features of per. So per has got these features. This is what is our answer. When we talk about the distinctive features of some phonemes, so that is the answer. We try to analyze one phoneme only by combining this sound, by using this sound with other sounds, with other phonemes, right? So all categories were there. For example, other bilabials were there, dentals were there, labiodentals were there. Okay? So we were trying to separate per, or the features of per sound. And now we are in the position to say that voiceless, bilabial, and plosive are the distinctive features of per. Is it clear? That's good. Well, I don't want to give you so many rules. I have already given you some of the rules so far as the minimal pairs are concerned. But time and again, there is a question, what is minimal pair? During the last session, I had a talk. I tried to define what is a minimal pair. At the same time, I presented before you certain statements. And not only the statements, but I tried to exemplify what I said. At the same time, I provided you with some rules, that what are the rules when you apply. For example, it's very important that what we say, we have to apply first of all the rule. For the time being, if I say the rule is just like a framework, we have to find one thing, that whether our own statement is fit so far as that frame is concerned, in that frame or not. If that statement is very much fit in that framework, that means alright, the rule is applicable. And we have been trying to apply all the rules during the last session, and of course in this session as well. At the same time, we try to understand what are the distinctive features so far as the phonemes are concerned. But there is a point before I talk something else so far as this slide is concerned. Time and again I have to remind you about the phonemes of English. And time and again there are certain questions by the learners that it is hard sometimes for them to grasp. First of all, the symbols of each and every phoneme, and afterward the sound. Remember, the only recipe we people are left with is the practice. Practicing phoneme is the only way out. Always remember that when we are talking about phonetics and English phonology, but first phonetics, we should be knowing that what are the rules or what are the concepts governing the production, transmission and reception of speech sounds. And because of this very reason, I deliberately started talking about English instead of talking about any language. Yes, exactly when I picked up the speech mechanism, the production of speech sounds, any human language, I try to bring some sort of examples taken from English language. Why? What was the reason behind that? The reason behind that was so that I wanted to get you people familiarized with the scheme of work or the system of English phonemes production. How the phonemes of English language are produced, how they are transmitted, and how they are received or perceived. So the game is very important, but the game starts when there is a surety, and surety, I cannot give assurance to any student, but it is the student, it is the learner who can give surety to himself or herself. He or she can assure himself or herself that all right, now I am ready to talk about English phonology. Because whatever you do, you talk about segments, you talk about suprasegments, or segmental phonology or suprasegmental phonology. Time and again, you have to refer to each and every phoneme. For example, if you have to quote an example, say 3 sounds word, you should be knowing what are the sounds first of all. Without understanding the sound system or the phonemes of English, it becomes very hard to talk about minimal pairs or phonemes or allophones. I introduced you people to one more term, that is allophone, and I deliberately did not talk about allophone. Why? Because I didn't want to confuse you. We have to talk about allophones, and we have to make a difference, and we have to find out the difference in between phoneme and allophone. Because a term comes to us and we don't understand that term, without analysis it is not possible to understand any term. It could be phonetics or phonology, it could be any other branch of learning. The understanding of terms is very important, because we have to apply the terms, and if the terms are used in some sort of statements, what happens? If we do not know the definition, or what is the term, in fact, may I say these words, what is term or what is it about? It is not possible to use that term in any sort of statement, in any sort of answer. For the foremost job what the students or the learners are to do, of course when I say learners, I am also included. I am not separating myself from you people. I always feel that okay, we both, definitely the people who are listening to me, my students and I am, we are learners, and we have to find out the way, and the way is that we have to master phonemes. Because this time we are talking about minimal pairs, next time we'll be talking about allophones, and next time we'll be talking about something else. So it's very important. Time and again we have to refer to certain concepts, and at the same time we have to go to practice all the phonemes time and again, so that by the end of this semester at least everyone is capable of writing the sound, the symbol of the sound, and then using that sound of phoneme in words. This is what the target is. And the ultimate target is that I'm sure that all the students who are capable, who practice a lot, they can transcribe general English into phonetic. Whatever you listen, whatever you hear, maybe you are attending some sort of conference. What happens? You can start writing or you can start transcribing what you listen into phonetic or phonetic transcription. That's a very important thing to understand. Now, I want you to ask this question. You become the examiner of your own self, and ask what is a minimal pair. But when the question is asked, you must remember these 2 rules, at least these 2 rules. Alright? It's very important to keep the rules in your mind. Keep the rules in your mind. I will not be talking more, but I want you to read it very carefully and then answer. First is 2 words, 1 sound is different. The words are cat and cut. Right? You can sit alone after this session. You can analyze the way I have analyzed, per sound only, just per sound. You can pick up k sound in the case of cat or cut. It's not C or S, it is k sound. Again, 3 phonemes in each word. Can you see? K, A, T, and K, A, T. What happens? Do you think that both the words have got the same meaning? No. If A is replaced with A, if A is replaced with A, not only the word but the entire meaning is changed. Are you getting my point? You could talk about some other pairs. Such as pat and bat. Pat and pit. Pat and pad. Pat and pat. And now the last one. Do you think this is a minimal pair? Do you think this is a minimal pair? So I am leaving unto you. Decide it. The last one is minimal pair or not. And if it is, why it is. And if it is not, why it is not. That's the question. Alright? And at the same time, the grammar portion is also presented before you. Grammar changes. Talk, talks. Do you remember I also talked about grammar? Talk, talked. Weed, weave. Right? Eat, ate. Her, hers. He, his. His, his. There are certain problems the learners of foreign language, they come across. It is possible sometime the native speaker is saying his, and the listener or the learner is thinking he is saying his. For example, the sentence is late, and the learner is saying, infecting he, not he is late, but his late. So there is confusion. What is the way out to avoid this kind of confusion? As I have presented before you, one challenge, try to understand, do you think in the part 2 all the pairs are minimal pairs? If all are, then it's okay. Write down your answer. You can WhatsApp me your answer. If some of them are, okay, pinpoint them. If some of them are not, pinpoint them. Same is the case with the grammar portion. This is what happens in the foreign language learning. The native speaker speaks one naturally, the way you people speak your language naturally. You know the answer. If somebody is asking you, okay, how you are using the sound seen or saw, is it seen or saw? You can tell him or her, oh no, I am not using seen, I am using saw. You know it. Whether asir, ayn, seen, yer, re, or ain, sod, ye, re. So you are in the better position if you are a speaker of Urdu or Arabic. Same is the case with the speaker of English language. They know that. And they are conscious about this, but when asked, otherwise there is no need to tell because language comes to them naturally. So it's very important, if the question is what is minimal pair, at least these two rules must be in your mind all the time. Otherwise, I've already talked about 4 rules during the previous session, but at least for now, 2 rules at least must be in your mind all the time when you're talking about minimal pairs, when you're going to decide that this is a minimal pair or this isn't a minimal pair, right? You can think as many examples, as many words you can. Daily you come across many speakers. For example, nowadays many instructors are talking to you. You can figure out, all right, what are the minimal pairs my one particular instructor is using. So naturally the instructors are all the time using minimal pairs, but sometimes we are not conscious about these things, but sometimes we are conscious about these things. All right, so I am leaving certain questions to you people to decide, and this is what you can do when you are free after having seen this session. Listen carefully. There are some challenges, maybe they are not, but if they are not, it's okay. You have to write down your answer, which one is minimal pair, which one is not. If which one is not minimal pair, why? Because it doesn't come under the heading of minimal pair. And if one is, or 2 are, or 3 are minimal pairs, so you can say that, all right, they fall under the heading of minimal pairs. Is it okay? Good. Well, my dear students, the last part of this session, not only this session, but I've been telling you, I've been presenting before you sort of challenges, sort of questions, sort of jobs, sort of assignments, sometimes very easy, sometimes little challenging. But in fact, my vision is that I want to generate, or rather I want to pave way to you people to generate critical thinking about your own subject, and that is now phonetics and phonology. Critical thinking is very important. It's not the instructor who is more important. This is what I told you, that it is not the teaching, but in my point of view, teaching is absolutely zero if there is no learning. So that means learning decides whether there is teaching or not. It's not the teaching that decides whether learning is there or not, but it is the learning that decides whether there is or there has been teaching or not. Now, the best part of teaching is that learning is occurring. Learning occurs, and the learner or the student responds positively. Not necessarily that your answer is all the time 100% correct. No, this is not the requirement. This is not the expectation. It is very much possible that sometimes 25% of your answer is okay. Sometimes 50%, sometimes more than 50%. But at least what is important? The important part is that somebody is working. Somebody is working on one particular topic or subject or area. This is what is my message to every student, that I want you to work on the things which we discussed during the session. For example, if you look at today's question, what are features with regard to minimal pairs? That's very simple. You have to explain. I want you to keep in front of you 4 or 5 slides, especially when I was analyzing per sound and I was trying to bring per phoneme in different words, and I was trying to match per with other phonemes. So this is what you have to do. Think about some other phonemes and put together, use them with other phonemes, and then find out which are the minimal pairs and which are not. Refer to the last slide, the second last slide of this session, when I said that find out whether you have all minimal pairs which you see in that slide, or there are some which are not. It is possible all of them are. It is possible some of them are not. So that's very important for the students. So before I close this session, I end this session, I want you to explain what is your understanding regarding features so far as the minimal pairs are concerned. And I'm sure, as I suggested you, that you have to refer to some of the slides, of course all the slides, but some of the slides, for example the analysis of sound per, of phoneme per, and afterward we try to know that alright, what are the features of per, and we said alright, it is unvoiced, bilabial and plosive sound, or plosive. These are the features. So for this session, thank you very much from my side. Goodbye and good luck. Stay blessed.